Hello, everyone, and welcome to Girl Meets Rugby. My name is Christina Lanham, and this is episode 006. We have lots of things to talk about. I've been delaying recording this for the longest time now, waiting for some news to drop, which it finally did today. So it's a Thursday. I usually try to record at least by Tuesday, so this is way behind schedule for me, but I think the news is well worth the wait. And with that, let's go ahead and get things started. We've got WER, MLR, and Six Nations all to talk about today. So let's kick it off with some WER news. So earlier this week, USA Rugby was announced as the official sanctioning partner for Women's Elite Rugby, which is great. So that means they'll be, basically validating their matches as a professional team, and something that was absolutely needed and perfect that USA Rugby is come alongside the women's professional team as they have with the men's. Excuse me. And yes, I am still struggling with this stupid winter cold. So you're probably going to get to hear that a few more times tonight. But the biggest news is they have finally announced their media partner for streaming. So as of today, they have announced that DAZN is going to be the media partner for Women's Elite Rugby. This will allow anyone in the world to watch the games for free. Now, it looks like when you go on their site that you only can watch something if you subscribe. I've seen a few videos of people saying how they were able to click a sign up for free button. I couldn't find that. So this is what I did. I clicked to sign up. It's trying to put you in a free trial. You give your account information, you give your password, and when it got to the paywall, I just clicked out of that page. And it went ahead, it created my account. It didn't require me to put in a credit card. I don't have to remember to do a cancellation. So I just filled everything up to the paywall, and then I just clicked off that page, and then I was logged in to my account. I could go find the WER page, and I went ahead and followed them. And so now it's going to give me notifications when those games are playing. So that would be my recommendation to you, because we all know how it is. You go in, you sign up for something, you're like, I'll remember to cancel, and then you don't. So save yourself the money. You can sign up for free. You just have to kind of finagle the process a little bit. But we do have our first matches coming up on Saturday, which will be New York versus Boston. And then on Sunday, we will have Chicago versus Twin Cities. And I do have on some of my new WER merch. I've got the New York shirt here in honor of the Misfit Show, which is going to be Scott the Big Guy Ferreira and Jazz the Merch Maven are going to be putting a show together following the New York Exiles. So definitely be on the lookout for their show. Check it out. I'm confident it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is everything we know so far for WER. Like I said, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for that media partner to be announced. And so now you can go sign up on DAZN and get that account set up so you can watch the first matches this weekend. And with that, let's go ahead and jump over into the MLR, and we'll recap this week, as well as some interesting news that's popped up. So, you know how teams go on a bye week here and there. I think whoever's running the MLR website must be on a bye week. We haven't had any updates to the disciplinary page since the March 3rd week. And the match appointment the match appointments for week 5 and beyond are missing. So I don't know who's over there managing the MLR website, but if you could please update that, it'd be great. We've had a few red cards issued, and I have no idea when those people are coming back into play. So I would love to see that. A little diet Dr. Pepper, try and help this stupid cough. Um, the Legion had some major news. Ma'ananu, obviously the former All Black, former player for the San Diego Legion, has officially become a part owner of the team. So we're really excited to see that Ma'a not only came over to invest as a player, but now he is investing in the team and the future of that team. So awesome to see, really excited for hopefully some of the publicity that might bring, maybe some additional interest of others that want to help invest in our local teams and, help them sustain into the future. And then this week we also had in week 5 we had a couple of 50 game caps. So from the free drafts we had Conradi, and from the Seawolves, we had Zeiss. So both of them have earned their 50th cap, playing for MLR. And so it's exciting to see. We're going to definitely have some more milestones like that hitting just about every single game as this league gets older and some of our players who have been with us for so long continue to gain those game times. And then I'm happy to report that week 5 had a vast improvement in the kicking game, where we left so many points on the table last time. Things are looking much better. Most kicks were really on point. There was not excessive points left on the table this week. But I think we could have just changed it to we really like to knock on the ball. There was knock-ons galore over the weekend, which resulted in a total of 48 scrums over 4 matches, with the Miami Sharks and Utah having by far the most at 19. So work on great job working on your kicking game. Now work on those knock-ons, guys. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the matches and just do a little bit of an overview of how things went. Excuse me there. Okay, so we kicked things off on Saturday with a noon game for the Chicago Hounds versus Old Glory DC. I do have to say the crowd looked pretty light for Chicago, which is not, I would say, a norm for them. But I have to wonder if, Chicago is definitely a city that loves to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And I wonder if some of the ongoing festivities, as well as the early time of the day for that game, if people have club rugby, their kids are in sports, making a noon match is probably a little bit more difficult. But so I would say attendance didn't look as strong at their match that I would have expected. But overall, the game was really good. I did see a trend overall in matches that it is taking longer for teams to score, which just shows the improvement of defense on the opposing sides. Um, they were facing a significant amount of wind at the Chicago match. So it was 25 to 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. And that's going to affect being able to just, kick the ball out of touch, trying to, position your placement. It also really messes with line out. So wind is no joke. Um, I will say DC had some major disciplinary issues. They ended up getting a yellow card due to multiple penalties. And they even had a try overturned due to foul play. So all of those things really came in and impacted them. It started off, I would say, in the first half, it was really Chicago's game. They got in, they had a couple of penalty kicks, they got a try, they ended up with a penalty try, and DC really only was able to come out with one try in that first half. So we went into the half, it was looking handily like Chicago had this in the bank. But in the second half, things kind of really turned around. So both teams ended up with 2 yellow cards each throughout the match, which definitely put them down a player here and there. Um, they were generally pretty even in the lineouts, but you know, DC really came back strong in that second half. They scored 3 tries, and it was only the massive defense of Chicago that allowed them to secure their own win at home. So if it wasn't for their stalwart efforts to keep DC at bay, I think they could have lost this game. Ultimately, final score was 30-26 in the Hounds' favor. And so they took the win for the week, which helps them remain in their position in top of the East. Uh, then we're going to jump over to the other St. Patrick's Day celebration, which was Free Jacks versus NOLA. Free Jacks had their St. Patrick's Day tees on. Everything looked really great. Their crowd was packed. I mean, their stands were filled to the brim. So it's a different area, Quincy, Massachusetts, from Chicago. But I have to give kudos to the Free Jacks really being able to draw in their crowd. It was a little bit later in the day for them on the East Coast. So I don't know if that had a factor in it, but it was really, really good turnout for that game. And this was definitely a pretty tight game all the way through. Nola scored first with a try about 10 minutes in. 6 minutes later, the Free Jacks answered back with a try of their own. And then 2.5 minutes later, they scored yet another try. And then Nola turned around a couple minutes after that and scored a try. So it was very neck and neck. It was 21-14 in favor of the Free Jacks at halftime. Um, and then Nola had some disciplinary issues in the second half, which resulted in 3 different yellow cards. So that definitely had a major impact for them. They were pretty equal in the lineouts. The Free Jacks did at one point lose one of their scrums that was a penalty to them, and the NOLA was able to grab that. But this game was one of those, it kept you until the death at 81 minutes and 57 seconds. Free Jacks scored the final try of the game, capturing the win 35-31. So I would have to say, where NOLA looked incredibly frazzled playing Utah, it was definitely not the same case here. They looked much stronger, but that discipline definitely became a problem. I mean, 3 yellows in your second half, you're at a constant disadvantage for most of the second half. So the fact that they were able to still score while a man down, get a bonus point, get a penalty kick, all of that, that's kudos to them. But it's definitely an area that they need to work on. And then we're going to head down south to Miami. And here the Miami Sharks were facing off against the Utah Warriors. Utah was obviously coming off a harsh loss to Houston the week prior, and they came to play. It was clear that Utah was the stronger team of the two. This was the game of knock ons. So I counted at least 11 knock ons for the Sharks. Um, Looked like the Warriors probably had about 5 themselves, but again, we had a ton of scrums, 19 scrums for this match, all basically due to knock-ons, as well as the Sharks really struggled in their lineouts. So they lost 5 of their lineouts that they played, and as we know, that's a really easy way to have the other team score. So a lot of their set piece they really need to work on. Uh, the biggest thing, though, was despite the fact that the Sharks were not performing well there, Utah, who was clearly ahead, was ahead most of the game, um, were just playing incredibly reckless. They were conceding penalty after penalty after penalty. They ended up getting 3 yellow cards. And during that time, they had 2 people out at once, and that allowed the Sharks to come back and score 2 tries, which then put them, really in contention for winning the match. And it was only the Warriors really coming back and scoring in the last 10 minutes another 2 tries that moved them ahead, as well as the Sharks ended up going out with a red card. But, it's it was the Warriors game. It was clearly the Warriors game from the beginning, and it was their inability to rein themselves in that could have cost them the match. And so I think that's just an area that they need to work on. They're clearly very strong this year, but they can't afford to have 3 yellow cards and, have multiple people out in the second half and expect to always be able to hold on to the win. So, they've definitely got some work to do. The Sharks in general, they really need to work on their set pieces. They're just, um when they're good, and when they're not good, they're not good. So, and then our final match was RFCLA versus the Seawolves. And um, less than 2 minutes into the match, LA got a yellow card. So it was very quickly in. They're already down a man. In that time, Seattle gets a penalty kick. And then they turn around about 6.5 minutes later, they score a try. Uh, about 20 minutes into the game, LA seemed to find their footing. It really looked like the Seawolves were going to dominate the first 20 minutes of the game. It just was all Seattle possession. LA was dropping the ball left and right. They just didn't seem to have any cohesion. But about 20 minutes in, things started clicking. About 24, almost 25 minutes, they scored their first try. And then Seattle, in turn, scored one more time. And then just before the half, LA scored. And so it was, it was getting there. It was pretty evened up at that point. LA looked like they had a chance. They looked like they were playing some really good defense. And so I was excited to see that. They did have a knock on right at the try line, which was just painful. They're not my team that I root for, but you just feel for a team when they're like right there and then you knock it on. It's like that's just the most painful thing to me. But um, LA had 10 knock-ons. The Seawolves had about 5. And let's see, LA had 2 yellow cards. Seawolves ended up with 1. This was the mark the return of Pago Heine out on the field, and so he was playing. He was very close to almost getting a card, but the ref just gave him a warning. But both of them really strong in their lineouts, won all of their own lineouts. They seemed pretty even up on penalties. At one point, the Seawolves were really racking him up, and then the next, LA was really racking him up. And so you could see where teams were feeling under pressure. But it was, at the second half, LA was down a man, Seawolves scored, and then LA just turned it on. They scored 3 tries in a row. They had a really epic one where the ball kind of came out from the Seawolves right at the try line. They were able to pick it up and go. Some really great phases of play that resulted in, I believe it was Ben Houston, who's one of their newer players at number 8, was able to go in and score for the try. The hugs he got from his team as he got um, switched out with his impact player was really great to see. So that was really fun. And then it looked like Seattle was going to walk away with no bonus point, no losing bonus point, and then at 80.5 minutes, they managed to go in and score a try. And so that brought them within 7. And so not only did they secure their bonus point, but they also got that losing bonus point, which actually keeps them above LA in the rankings. But this is LA's first win of the season. So in week 5, LA has now secured a first victory, which is definitely getting that monkey off their back. But final score was 35-29. So that was really great to see. See them win. Seattle is looking better than they were. They seem to be improving. I think they're getting more repetitions in. And so I think they're coming together more as a team and playing better. Still would say they're not as strong as a Seattle team we've seen in the past, but we're only 5 weeks in. So we've got a lot more rugby to play. On bye week this week, we had the Legion, we had Houston, and we had Anthem. We're all off this week. So we'll see them gearing back up into play this coming weekend. And that is everything in MLR. So let's go ahead and we're just going to do a little touch on the Six Nations. I know I haven't talked about it a whole bunch, and I haven't had a lot of time to watch the games. I've been really busy with work. I've got a massive project going on. I've been sick. And there's just a lot of rugby to watch. So it's just, first world problems. Too many things to see on TV. But in the men's Six Nation, France has taken a well-deserved win. They think they played really good this season. So France walks away with the win. Unfortunately, Antoine Dupont is out with an ACL injury, I believe. But I don't know if you saw on social media, he was wearing an RFCLA ball cap. So that was kind of cool. But France takes the win, and after a massive defeat by England, Wales once again takes the wooden spoons. Only time can tell what next year will bring for Wales. They've obviously got their interim coach at the moment. I'm assuming now that this Six Nations matches are over with, they're going to be looking hard at who's going to go in and take the helm. Um, I don't know. It's you know you'd love to see them make a comeback. It's never fun to have a team that never gets a win. We want everyone to have a good competitive Six Nations. But while the men's matches are over, the Six Nations is not. Women's Six Nations starts this weekend. If you are in the US, you can stream it on Peacock. So they will have all the matches on there for you guys to see. And with that, I've got just a little other news, something that was also dropped on social media today. The Bristol Bears were thanking Alona Marr for being with them for the last part of their season, and they wanted to post the impact she had on the team. And so I wrote this all down so I don't get it wrong. So they reported a 103% increase in match attendance, 300% increase in social media followers, 293 shirts for Alona Marr were sold, uh, a record high attendance of 9,240. And that wasn't just a Bristol Bears record, that's a PWR record. And then women in the age range of 25 to 35 years old are now the largest demographic for the team, both online and as ticket buyers. So I think her impact is pretty obvious there. So if anyone is, still doubting whether or not she made any, any dent in rugby over in the UK, I think we can easily say the Bristol Bears are for the better for her being there. There are more people interested in rugby, which is what we want. And I'm just really excited for that. I'm excited to see hopefully some new lifelong season ticket members for the Bristol Bears and maybe some of the other teams as well throughout the PWR. So, congrats to the Bears on a really good season. Congrats, I believe it was to the Harlequin, or the Hartsbury Gloucester Harlequins, took the PWR championship. I totally got your team wrong. Sorry. But that's, really great to see. And we're looking forward to what Alona has next. I think she's doing some stuff with Dancing with the Stars. As the semifinalists there or runner up, she'll be, participating in some of that. And then we do have later this year the Women's World Cup. So we need to be keeping an eye out for that. We've got a lot more rugby coming, not just with domestically here, but internationally. And with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up and take things off the pitch a little bit. A little, food for thought and such. As you can see, I've changed up my background a little bit, trying things, a little trial and error, see what works, see what doesn't. I've got my Kitty Nasagege jersey over here from the Sabercats. I've got my my Chicago Tempest t-shirt over there. We're going to see what happens. But, don't be afraid to experiment. Some things work, some things don't. That's okay. I think in my very first episode, I talked about, it's okay to fail and it's okay to experiment. It's okay to see, what works one week, what works another. I'm looking forward to trying to really improve my production value of this podcast. Right now, like I said, work has been absolutely insane, and it's taking up way more of my time than I would prefer. So I haven't had the time to really invest in this. And I know there's a time and a place, but I can try things here and there. So I decided I'm going to set this up and see how it goes. And so, yeah, please do the same. Try things out, see what works, see what doesn't. But don't be afraid to give things a little, experiment and see how it goes. Not always going to work out, and that's okay. But with that, we're reaching the end here. Another quick episode for me, but I didn't cough too much, so there's a win there. But we'll catch back on next week. We'll be able to discuss, obviously, first matches in the WER, the first matches of the Women's Six Nations, as well as the MLR. So lots to look forward to for this coming week, and I wish you all the best. This has been Girl Meets Rugby, episode 006, and I'm Christina Lanham. Have a great night, guys.